human child in the Harrison River Valley. According to Charlie, he does not like to remember this incident, because it was a tragedy from which he did not fully recover even in old age. That day, Charlie Victor was hunting in the mountains with his dog when he came to a plateau where several large cedars grew. The dog stood under the tree and began to growl and bark at him. Charlie lifted the dog in his arms and he easily jumped inside the hollow. The next moment, a muffled scream came from inside the tree. He thought it might be a bear, and started giving the dog attack commands to force the bear out of the hollow. Charlie Victor immediately fired at the supposed bear with a gun, but almost immediately realized his mistake. He looked, according to Charlie, like a wild, uncivilized man. Charlie Victor was shocked and dismayed. Did he kill a child? The poor fellow was sprawled on the ground, but when I came closer to inspect the extent of his injury, he let out a wild wail, or rather a call, as if he was calling for someone's help. From behind the mountain from afar came a booming voice, which sounded closer and closer, and from time to time the boy answered it as if directing the owner of the voice where to go. The hairy creature, for that was what it was, walked toward me without the slightest fear. It was a woman. She was about 6 feet, 180 centimeters tall, but her chest and shoulders were well above average in width. The sight of her sent chills down his spine. He was sure that if this wild woman touched him, she would crush every bone in his body. She cast a quick glance at the boy and her face took on a demonic expression as she saw him bleeding. She turned fiercely towards me and in the language of the Douglases, local Indian community, said, "You shot my friend." She began to move, as if dancing, around the boy, chanting loudly in a loud voice for a minute or two, and, as if in answer to her, the same troll singing came from the distant forest. There was a challenge in her black eyes and somber gaze as she turned to face me and spoke to me a second time, and the terrible words she uttered made me shudder. She pointed at me with a snake-like thing and said, "Savash, you will never kill another bear again." His brave dog, who never shied away from the pursuit of any bear or cougar in the wild, lay whining at his feet, as if the dog understood what she was saying. Charlie confessed to Burns that he had not shot a bear or anyone else since that fateful day. And for the last 8 years, he was completely paralyzed and could not walk, and he believed that the wild woman who threatened him had something to do with this. Charlie was quite certain that the injured boy was not of the same species as the wild woman. For he was definitely of white race and the wild woman called him friend, not son or tribesman. They must have stolen it or picked it up somewhere, he added. He further confessed to Burns, "I personally think that since she spoke the language of the Douglases, these creatures must be related to the Indians. The Sasquatch raising a human child that they